This is video numero uno, so if you're like, why is Shayla no fun? That's because I haven't had any alcohol yet. Hey everybody, welcome back to Whiskey Central. If you're new here, my name is Shayla, and today we are reviewing Dalwhinnie 15yr. Who knows, maybe I'm gonna like it. We're just gonna see. That's kind of the whole point of reviewing whiskey, Shayla. Got a healthy pour in the glass. Some people do not like the spin jobs, but I have just adopted it. It's part of my soul now, and it's just fun. If it adds enjoyment to what I'm doing, I'm gonna do it. Alright, this bottle, according to me, will run you $81. I've seen people that pay less for it, but about 81 bucks, which is a little bit of a yikes. 15 years old, 43% ABV, made from 100% malted barley. It's aged in ex-bourbon barrels, and it's one of about 19 or so distilleries that still use worm tubs for their condensation instead of shell and tube. I have a video about that up here if you want to check it out. Alright, that's about all you need to know on this bad boy. Let's go on the nose. So it smells super honey and super malty. Really sweet, like almost sugar, like sugar syrup. So you get the vanilla from the bourbon cask and also a ton of spice from the bourbon cask, which is really nice. But it smells thick. It's only 43%, but it just smells like heavy, viscous, thick. It's kind of weird. It's like smells light and thick at the same time. The honey and vanilla and stuff are kind of like sparkly and light, but then there's like a dark richness. It's almost like rich without being sherried, if that makes sense. I don't have synesthesia, but if I did, I feel like this would be yellow or orange or something. Apricot, citrus, orange blossom, that sort of stuff. I feel like I'm kind of in a field. Like, I don't think it has a grassy note to it, but I feel like I'm in what Dan would call an unfucked field, if that makes sense. And all of those, I'm at a picnic and we brought apricots and honey and stuff like that. Almost, if you've had a sauterne finished whiskey, it almost has that kind of vibe to it, like that sweet wine kind of note. I think that's about all I'm gonna get. Let's go on the palate. Cheers. Okay, this is why I was trying to keep an open mind. It's actually not bad, but you get a heaviness without it being viscous. Heaviness is not a flavor, but if it was, that's kind of what's going on my palate. Yeah, you definitely get that malt, the spice, a little bit of that honey and fruit. At 43%, this would be much thinner and much more boring. It's actually not too shabby. Yeah, I swear it's got a tiny hint of kind of like a little bit of peat. The texture's nice on the palate. A lot of that oak spice comes in. It's very malty. If you don't like malt, probably won't like this. It doesn't have a ton of flavor. Like, I feel like the palate is actually more of a texture thing than a flavor thing. I wish the flavors that I got on the nose, I got more on the palate. I get little hints of them, but it's actually mostly like this heavy kind of sort of coating feeling on your palate, but you don't get a lot of the yummy flavors. It's not blowing my socks off, but it's pretty good. So, price. This one's a little bit weird. Is this one worth $81? I would say absolutely not worth $81. If it was like $50, maybe, but honestly, I'm probably never gonna buy this again. Nothing against it. It's not a bad whiskey. It's just not super interesting. Like the nose, you're like, oh, okay, I kind of like this nose. I like the way that it sits on the palate. There's not a ton of flavor on the palate, if that makes any sense. It's such a weird experience. But for example, Clynelish 14 is like 65 bucks, 70 bucks. Love it so much. It's almost gone. This is $81. Not gonna buy it again at that price. Probably wouldn't buy it again for $50, only because I've experienced it once. I don't really need to experience it again. This is gonna take a really long time for me to finish, just because I have more interesting things behind me that I'm gonna grab more than I grab this. There are tons of options if you like this whiskey. You'll like Dalwhinnie, Glencairn, Arran, Glencairn. The list goes on. This is a very kind of, I feel like this is like a baseline scotch. Like if you like this, you'll probably like almost any scotch because it doesn't really have too much. It's like right down home plate, basically. So have you tried Dalwhinnie 15? Did you like it? Did you think it was worth the money? Let me know in the comment section down below. All right, that about does it for this one. Next week, I'll be reviewing something that my patrons vote on. So if you don't want to miss out, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, leave it a like. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you with another full review next week. Seattle. Wild card. Let's go. I used to sit with my dad in the garage.
The sawdust that pine saw in the moss. Around every spring, when the winter thawed, we'd huddle around the radio, twisted broken knob. 7:10 a.m., no KJR. Dave House's voice would echo throughout the yard. Could have been older than 10, but to me and my friends, the voice on the other end might as well have been God's. 1995, the Division series, the whole town listening, swung on and belted. The words distorted, Joy Coy round third. Here comes Friffy, the throw to the plate, not in time. My oh my, the Mariners winning. Yes, fireworks, they lit up that ceiling in the Kingdom. We had just made history.
Comes Joy. Here is Ginger to third base. They're going to win.